Hi everybody, this time our topic is the linear perspective. In perspective, all the objects seem to gradually decrease in size when the distance between them and viewer increase, and each of the sets of parallel lines coming out from the object in the sketch appear to meet at one particular point. Speaking of linear perspective, we have to notice this system we apply generally to the box-like objects. I mean the rectangular boxes. So we use it for drawing the rooms with furniture and, of course, the streets with buildings, city landscapes. All the boxes surrounding us in daily life usually are standing on the horizontal surfaces, horizontal planes. And how they look depends on our position, more precisely on the level of our eyes. Level of eyes is horizontal plane too, but we see it like a line. This line we call the line of horizon. Here are boxes on the sketch. First box is below the eye level, so we see its top side. Second is over the eye level, and we see its bottom side. Third box is directly on the eye level, and we don't see neither its bottom side nor top. This third box is in position of a building seen from the street. Our eye level normally is higher than base of the building. All the parallel lines are getting closer and closer with a distance. You can remember how parallel lines of a railway track seem to meet at a distant point. The parallel lines belonging to the horizontal plane meet at the point on the line of horizon. This point is called the vanishing or melting point. Lines meeting at the vanishing point are known as orthogonals or convergence lines. There are two mostly used perspective schemes: one-point perspective and two-point perspective. Here we are speaking of quantity of melting points. In one-point perspective scheme, our line of sight is directed in parallel with lines of depth of our boxes. Here is the top view. We are outside of viewpoint in the scheme. And when we are looking from viewpoint, we see line of sight like point on the horizon line. It is the melting point. All the rest of the lines of depth meet at this point. Vertical lines in one-point perspective scheme are vertical and horizontal lines are horizontal. It is very convenient scheme because here is only one melting point and it is placed inside of the sketch. But this time of the linear perspective has its flaw. It looks sometimes not very realistic, and streets are not always organized like a chessboard. In two-point perspective scheme, our line of sight is directed diagonally relatively to the bases of our boxes. And we have two melting points, one from the left, another from the right, each one for one set of parallel lines. Only lines of vertical set are vertical. This type of linear perspective is more realistic, but it has its flaw too. Usually both melting points are far away outside of our sketch page. There are more than two types of perspective schemes, but for beginning, one-point perspective and two-point perspective give us enough freedom in sketching to achieve a good result in big variety of landscape. And knowing these schemes on location, we can choose correct position to draw the sketch. Before sketching, we can draw small schematic sketch to put horizon line and all the melting points in proper place and take a look how all the perspective works in our sketch. Now you can try to build up couple of small sketches with boxes using two types of perspective schemes, 1-point perspective and 2-point perspective. It makes theory less abstract and more usable. In the next videos, I am going to build up examples of landscapes based on 1-point and 2-point perspective schemes. And of course, I'll show you some of my tricks and hints for avoiding unnecessary work and trouble. See you later. Bye bye.